We are live. Yo, welcome to Cameos. We do not have Foo Money in here. Let's just delete that. That is gone. We are not with Foo Money. We are Cameos on a Tuesday night. I am O'Shaughnessy with you, as always, with Just Ramblin', O'Shaughnessy, and Samson. Foo Money is absent tonight. So I gotta put the nameplate on you there, Mr. Samson. Let's see. We might just have to omit it tonight. Let's see. I want people to know who you are. Where's the Samson nameplate? There we go. Boom. It's not amateur hour. It's not amateur hour if we adapt, improvise, and overcome. All right. Now all of our audience members can see the gloriousness that is you. All right, we're gonna hide the Foo nameplate. Boom. That is how you OBS, my friends. You saw it live. All right. Cool. Okay, we got that sorted. Thank you guys for joining in. Always fun to improvise on the fly. We are going to catch you up on everything that has happened this last week in pop culture, media, entertainment, nerdom. It's been a slower week. We were kind of on the struggle bus thinking about a main topic. We might just have to improvise that at the end. We'll just see how the conversation flows. You know, it's always good dialogue one way or the other. I'm sure we'll make good use of the time. So in lieu of Foo, we got Samson reading the news. You want to pull that up and hit the. I don't have the ticker going. It's been crazy. We're incredibly disorganized over here right now.
We'll get it one day.
Maybe.
Nah, I like it this way.
Maybe.
It's real.
It's real. Welcome to a real cast.
What's real raw and uncut? BT uncut. That's what it was. All right, so
started at the top. Roll it all the way back to last Tuesday. That's where we're picking
so I'll
up.
start with some Disney/Universal news, because apparently they are paying lobbyists to watch over legislation that would bar them from using a lucrative state tax break if AI is used to displace workers in their film and TV productions.
So break that down in like layman's terms.
So it's like your worst fears, right?
Giant spider? What?
No, like it's if Disney and other production studios, not just Disney, if they're allowed to use AI in the way that they want to, it could be lucrative for them. They get a lot of tax breaks from the state, and apparently they need lobbyists to get in there and stop lawmakers from fighting that type of legislation, which is what lobbyists do, right?
Right.
They work in people with money's interests.
And they're gonna.
Yeah, lobbyists always win because our lawmakers are bought. So
Disney literally changed the public domain laws so they could keep Mickey Mouse. Like before, it was like I think it was like after 30 years.
I was about to say that's a good point.
72 years.
70. Okay, yeah. After that amount of time,
Mickey's definitely older than that.
And they pushed it to like indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then how did Winnie the Pooh get?
Because the writer's dead.
Oh.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Well,
the creator of Winnie the Pooh
Walt Disney was the original writer for Mickey Mouse, and unless they count his brain living in cryogenesis as being alive, that dude is
Disney
gone.
has the money to make shit happen.
Yeah, or maybe the company Disney owns the rights, right? And maybe for Winnie the Pooh, if the guy's family doesn't go back to get the rights returned, it just becomes public domain. No one really knows to do that.
I would think it would have more to do with the fact that like Mickey Mouse is the Disney brand. I mean, it's literally the mouse ears. It's like in their logo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
but
it doesn't
I
even
would
have to
assume
be
that
public domain. It's like it is them.
Yeah, but it's probably all encompassing. It's not just Mickey Mouse, right? It's Goofy, Donald, all of those like IPs, which are tied to Disney World, Disneyland, everything they do.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Disney using money to pull strings.
Yeah, I want to look more into that. Like, how have those characters not gotten the same treatment that like you could just go out there and read what is it, like Moby Dick or any of those old books? Like those are all just free things that anybody can use, no problem.
Sherlock
Interesting.
Holmes, I think, is another one.
I feel
Yeah.
like the Cthulhu thing falls under the same thing. That's why that gets
Yeah.
referenced everywhere, because H.P. Lovecraft wrote that stuff forever
Mhm.
ago.
Pinocchio.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's another weird one though. That's maybe
It's
it
not-
wasn't originally Disney.
That wasn't Disney's creation.
Yeah,
Right.
Disney just popularized it, right? It's not.
So like Cinderella,
Good point.
Pinocchio, a few other of the Disney classics didn't originate with Disney.
See, this could have been our main topic. We
We
should have saved this story for last, and then we could have gone on a
can swing back
whole
around.
ass diatribe about public domain and Disney buying lawmakers. All right, let's moving on. Let's hit it with the next.
All right, there's a couple of things. HBO Max or HBO Discovery, they're being pretty wild. There's the first thing is they are having a lot of cutbacks, and cutting a lot of their staff, but specifically for their corporate PR departments. And that is probably because, and let me just find the other story. They lost 1.8 million subscribers across the Max and Discovery Plus brand when they launched Max. So I would assume you lose most of your subscribers, and then you go on.
It was
go and have
called.
some
I just had
layoffs.
to think about this the other day. It was called Max before, right? Like there was Max, HBO, and Showtime, right?
Yeah, so it was
Oh,
Or
Cinemax.
Stars, Cinemax. That's what it
Yeah.
was. Okay.
But,
Also known as the late night softcore porn channel.
Yeah, I was about to
Yeah.
say like that channel
But I
that
don't-
had all the porn.
I don't remember Cinemax being bought by HBO. I think they had HBO.
Then they made
HBO
it
Signature. Then they made HBO Max. But
Yeah.
HBO Max just gave you access to HBO as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they had HBO content and HBO Max content all on one platform. And then Warner Discovery combines everything. And then they just turn everything into Max. And that's where you have the TLC content, the HGTV content, HBO, there's Cartoon Network content, there's Max content, right? There's DC content. It's just a bunch of stuff.
Whoever came up with this strategy, oh my god, I can't.
Probably fired.
I don't
HBO
want
is
to
one of the
be in
biggest
that
brands in
person's
entertainment.
shoes. Yeah, exactly. Like, why if you're gonna stick with anything, why are you naming it after the like hotel porn channel and like HBO? It's like that's the name. I mean, I think I'd be upset in a different way because like having like, you know, a show about little people living in the Midwest is not content that I would expect to find on HBO, but at the same token, at least I would recognize the name. They go from like left to right, back to center, back to left. I'm not surprised that they've dropped so many subscribers. Like it, I was just thinking about this the other day. I was like, this is such a botched, like brand change.
It's like
Disney
more
had it
steps.
right. Like Disney had it right, where it's like, yeah, no one really associates Disney with The Simpsons. But when you go to Disney Plus, there's a category for The Simpsons and all that sort of content that they purchase through all their like corporate osmosis stuff.
Right.
But they know that Disney, the name, is the big brand that everyone flocks to. So HBO Max should have had the exact same strategy.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe.
Or just call it Warner Brothers, like WB. Why not rename the app WB?
They should have just made an entirely separate app and keep the HBO Max stuff separate. But no one would go to the Warner Discovery app because no one cares about any of the content, right?
Yeah.
I already have HGTV.
I think
don't
everybody
need
associates
HBO Max.
WB with that racist frog, so they were probably trying to steer clear of that name too.
No one's
Hello,
thought of
my
Michigan
baby.
J
Hello,
for
my
frog
honey.
for like decades. I just think I think it's just a lot of unnecessary stuff in the way. Like if you turn on your Max, it's nothing but like literally it'll say featured and it's just a brand new episode of 90 Day Fiance. I don't care about this. I don't want to see it. I'm not watching anything here. I'm trying to watch.
But the TLC app still exists, right?
Right. That's the other thing. All these other apps still exist.
Because that's how
Right.
Nicole watches all that garbage. It's still on TLC app.
Right. So why even bother to combine
Try
everything?
to
It's
consolidate
still HGTV
everything.
app, still TLC,
Yikes.
still like every other like thing you can watch on Max still has its own app.
I really want to hear
Except
like
Max, HBO Max.
That's
pitch.
so stupid.
I
It's
really
stupid,
want to
which is
hear
probably
the
why all these
pitch.
people got fired.
I want to hear
I
how they like sold that idea that this was a
Probably
good
cocaine.
Is it just me, or is like
cocaine in Vegas.
Is it just me, or does it feel like all the big streaming giants are just fucking up on some level? Like,
Well, I
they're just
think
making ridiculous mistakes.
so. What's another example? I'm curious.
What did Netflix do recently that pissed off? Oh yeah, the one screen per
Oh,
account thing.
yeah, that was obviously. But like,
Yeah, but
there,
they got revenue from that.
I was
Oh, they
going
did?
to.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I was going to bring up Netflix because like they operate in like a skin thin margin. Like that's Netflix's thing, is that they've like never made a profit and they're trying to. So yeah, I mean that decision was terrible, and it makes me mad at them every day. But I feel like Warner Brothers should have more money in the. They're like old Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like they've been around forever.
Yeah.
They should have some money.
I mean,
What was-
they did. Oh, and speaking of their money, they've reported higher Q2 earnings, second quarter earnings, because the writers and actors are on strike.
Right,
so
right.
So
So they're actually making more money now that they're not making stuff.
yeah, and I think part of that, we might have talked about it last week, was the writers they had on like retainer, right? Just get
They
rid of
let them
that,
all go. Yeah.
or they plan to, right? So I don't know, man. It's more than 100 million in the second quarter.
I'm curious as to what it looks like by next year. I don't know how long this strike is going to go, but it doesn't seem like both sides are really eager to budge. So it's like if this persists for another few months or so, 6 months, maybe up to a year or whatever, what do the earnings look like when there's no new content for that long of a period of time? Because like right now they still have stuff coming out. So it's like they got the Barbie movie, which is going to look good for their earnings because that just broke $1 billion. That's another news story. But it's all looking good now. But it's like when they have nothing else to put on screens, what happens?
Yeah. This is one of those rare moments where I feel like instead of them looking quarter by quarter, they're like, "Oh shit, this is gonna implode." like it's gonna be good until it's not, because like they're probably looking at their quarter earnings right now being like, "This, everything's on fire, we're doing great, shareholders are gonna be happy." But this is probably one of those very rare instances in like big business corporate America where they're probably like, "Oh shit, what is this gonna look like 3 years from now?"
Yeah, the iceberg's coming.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I doubt that they like I don't think they care. Like,
how would they not care? They're not creating products. It would be like it'd be like Coca-Cola being like the same exact. Imagine the exact same situation where Coca-Cola stops manufacturing Coke, and they're like, "Oh my God, we're not spending any more money on ingredients. Our profits are way up." And then everybody else is like, "But hold the fuck on! Like, what happens when we run out of Coke to sell? You know what I mean? Like,
it's Coca-Cola.
Wait a minute, sell cocaine again."
I don't think like companies in general are proactive in their thinking. They're just reactive, right? So if you're making money now,
that's what I'm saying. I think this has got to be one of those rare examples where they have to be thinking proactively.
I think they were banking on the writers and the actors being more fragile than they actually are. I think they were waiting for like a few weeks to go by, and just that kind of old way of thinking where it's like, oh God, if the young kids don't get their mocha lattes and get to all that
avocado
really
toast is out the window, yeah.
Exactly. Once they lose all that, they're going to crumble and come back to the table and beg us for an offer. But no, the writers and the actors are holding strong, as they should. So I feel like all of the big entertainment world is like, okay, we might have fucked up here. We gotta come up with something. If it's not this, we gotta pay a shit ton of TikTokers to come and scab for us and make trash ass 30-second content for the next several months until we actually get the quality writers back.
Would the TikTokers do it after the writers and the screen actors warn them, like, yo, if you do this, you cross picket lines, you'll never work.
A lot won't, but with the right amount of money, I feel like a lot will. It's fucked up. Like, it shouldn't happen. You shouldn't scab against the union. But I think that it's a concern I raised last week, where it's like, how long does the public really care about this? Because it's like the public is on the writer and the actor's sides now. But what happens when Stranger Things season 5 is delayed another 2 years, or we can't see Fantastic Four until like 2027, even though that's kind of like the projected release date at this point. But you get what I mean. Like, eventually the public sentiment might shift because people like their stuff, and if they're not getting their stuff, then they riot or
and
they
then we
turn
find
against
out
them.
if the actors are fragile or not, because they're getting
how long
tweeted at all day.
Still, how long until they don't get their stuff?
I don't know. That's the
right?
thing.
Because even Deadpool is finishing up like post production, right?
Mhm.
Also, the apparently James Gunn says the cast of Creature Commandos finished recording their lines, right? So which would mean at some point Creature Commandos will still come out, right?
Yeah, but they're going to
That's
drip
the
feed us.
visual
I mean,
effects
they're going to
people.
drip feed us until they are producing new things. They're going to take advantage of all the shit that they got and spread it out. Like what
Yeah,
Marvel did during COVID, where they like stretched that shit at the beginning.
Yeah, but how long until you can't stretch it anymore? Right?
Yeah.
If all these things that are supposed to that I would think should be delayed because of
TikTok stuff. I want to see
actors
HBO
strike.
Max and Disney executives making TikToks for our entertainment
No.
and charging
I
charging a subscription.
I just
I want
don't
to see
want.
Peter Zaffran dancing to Ice Spice. That's what I want.
Hi, I'm Bill Iger, and welcome to Jackass. Subscribe for more content.
I don't want the production companies to get this AI stuff going, which is likely what will happen
Yeah.
if this stretches out too long. Eventually, they'll just turn to AI, which is there's probably lobbyists right now working to make sure that this is a lucrative thing. And then once they can get a hold of AI, then it won't matter if the actors and the writers come back or not. You just get some TikTokers, copy their faces and images a bunch of times, and then just churn out like trash.
Yeah, but you got to get at this point. Everybody's very aware of the value of their, data and themselves in the case of the actors. So I'd be surprised if you get like Brad Pitt jumping to the front of the line, getting paid $100 million to scan his likeness so that they can use it forevermore. I don't know. I think I like to think that artists or the actors are a bit more of artists than they are just like interested in the money, because a lot of them already have the money anyway, so they care more about the craft. I think at least generally speaking, most actors care about doing good acting, right?
Yeah, I thought that about musicians, and then I saw a bunch of artists selling their.
Well, that's because the record label, corrupted them.
No, just if it's not the record label corrupted them. It's just if you're going to give me $250 million for my catalog, all right, here, take it, right? And you do what you want. Especially
that's fair.
Talk about Brad Pitt, right? What is Brad Pitt? He probably doesn't even care to act anymore, right? He doesn't have to. He never.
Yeah, but I think he cares about his reputation. Like I think a lot of these guys care about their reputation.
I think it's a difference between like buying someone's catalog and being able to replicate their voice, their lyrics, and everything, and then just create that in perpetuity and make infinite profits off of it, while the artist gets nothing.
Right, you can do that.
You can do that, but it's like now you have laws against that. Oh, I don't know if there's laws, but it's like there hasn't been any established contract that says other people can profit off of you. Like you can still strike any sort of replicated AI music and stuff like that. But it's like with the actors, if you scan their faces, it's going to be like puppets. Like they can project your image onto any random green screen and just use you, your face, your voice, your simulated talents forever.
Panamanian Thunder in the chat just pointed out that Sonic 3 began filming without the actors. If that's real,
no, it is real. That was on the docket. I was going to talk about it.
There you go.
Like I saved it for last for Panama.
They'll do whatever they need to do to get ahead.
They don't care.
Why?
But imagine like you have to film these scenes twice, right? You just film the location, and then someone like talks.
They don't have to film it twice. They put them in front of a green screen and bada bing, bada boom.
No, but they don't film the movie in front of a green screen. They film at location, like they film in a town, right? And then I don't know. There's probably like a guy or a kid in a little suit running around for motion capture, or however they do it. I don't know. It's just.
I mean, it just depends.
It's like a ball on a stick that they move around really fast, depending on the action scene.
It depends on what you're talking about, though, because plenty of full scenes are shot in front of a green screen. I mean, like that whole scene in Endgame, they weren't on set anywhere. That was just a giant green screen.
They just had the ground.
We're talking about Sonic. They shoot. Sonic is like with real people. They don't shoot that whole thing in front of a blue screen. They shoot like.
I think that whole city scene was in front of a green screen. Like all that shit that happened when he was like running down the building and stuff like that. Like he didn't fly a helicopter through New York.
You talking about the game? No, I'm just playing that. No, but, I mean, but there are some things that they shoot at location.
Of course,
with
everything.
the
Yes,
human
100%.
But everything else is just computers.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Also-
Think
also
Panama's a Sonic expert. He said they use models for the Sonic capture.
I like to think that it's what's his name's brother that played Rocket Raccoon, the motion capture, just running around.
Sean Gunn?
Sean Gunn. Yeah, Sean Gunn doing everything. Gotta go fast. All right,
Yeah,
moving on.
This generation's
All right.
Andy Serkis, all the animal characters.
Oh, since we look at the segues are just working for themselves.
Yep.
So we were just talking about visual effects. Apparently, they're overworked and underpaid visual effects workers.
Surprise, surprise.
And they're trying to unionize.
Said nobody.
So imagine if the visual effects workers unionize in the same way that the writers and the screen actors do. We'd never see
Hollywood
anything
is a
again.
mess right now, man.
Yes, it is. Everyone just wants to be paid fairly.
Which is fair. I mean,
Yeah.
in light of the fact that like AI is out here like literally making commercials for itself saying, I'm gonna take your job. Like, yeah, I get it. It makes sense. Everybody's out here trying to get theirs while they can.
Do you think all the bad CGI in Marvel movies were like deliberate cries for help?
If you go back and watch Shang-Chi in reverse, like that scene where the car drives off a cliff, if you play it back, you can hear somebody saying, "Get me out of here!" Like, yeah, I don't know. It has been not great as of late. I just assumed that was because they were being spread too thin, and
They
just
were working
worked
like
too hard.
100-hour weeks.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yikes!
All right.
Yeah.
Some more or some Superman news. Apparently, and I don't know if it matters, but James Gunn followed Skylar Gisondo on Instagram. I don't know if that's how you say his name. Sorry, it might not be Gisondo, but whatever. But he was eyed as Jimmy Olsen, so maybe this is confirmation that he will be playing Jimmy Olsen in Superman Legacy. And
I fully support the casting. If you've ever seen Santa Clarita Diet, you know he's a fantastic choice for Jimmy Olsen.
A movie about serial killers or something.
It's I don't want to spoil it, but it's pretty dark but hilarious.
he's also in Righteous Gemstones. I think he's like Danny McBride's oldest son.
I think he'd be a good choice.
Yeah, he looks the part, honestly.
Mhm.
I like him. He's funny.
He looks like he'd be a really comedic foil to Superman.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then also in more Superman Legacy news, apparently
Moving on.
Adam Driver was eyed for the role of Lex Luthor. And he had turned down the role previously because he was playing Kylo Ren instead. So if they went back to him, and I think Adam Driver is a better actor than what's his name? Who played Lex Luthor last time?
Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah.
Yo.
So if Adam Driver,
God.
like if this is true, then he'd make a great Lex Luthor.
Any bald person would have been a better Lex than Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah.
I could have shaved my cat and put him on screen, and it would have been a better Lex Luthor. That was so weird. It was such a weird choice. It was like Jesse Eisenberg was like Jeff Bezos before he got ripped. He just looked like that, like really dorky version of Jeff Bezos when he was selling books out of his parents' garage, and it was like, is this supposed to be Lex Luthor or like, you know?
He would have been a great Riddler.
Yeah.
He would have.
I think he
But
has the
Full energy,
demeanor
all his
for that.
vibes. Like he was
I like
fantastic. Riddler.
what was his name? I forget everyone's names when it matters. I did like who played Riddler in the Batman movie.
Oh, I thought that was a weird casting.
He was great to me. As how they did him was fantastic. I loved it. So, but I love that movie.
Actually, that was one of the weaker parts of the movie for me, but that's a whole nother topic.
guy.
Yeah, it was like,
move on.
yeah, let's move on. Moving on.
This guy is wild.
That dude's so weird.
Oh, his name was Paul Dano, by the way.
Thank you. There's some speculation or news. I don't want to call it news. But Gal Gadot says she's developing a Wonder Woman 3 with Peter Safran and James Gunn. But we don't know if that's like 100% true. We need like some confirmation from
I saw a
Gunn, who
couple
always
stories
confirms
about
things.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. And she said all this after the Superman stuff was announced. So it could be, there could be some truth to it,
We need
right? But
confirmation
this,
from the big man himself.
I think James Gunn said he was going to stop doing that though, because I guess it just got so
Yeah.
overwhelming with all the bullshit hitting Twitter.
yeah,
It became a full-time job for him. But I think if they brought back Gal Gadot, nothing against her, I think it would be a bad look for the DCU, because it's like you drop Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck, but then you keep her as Wonder Woman. Not to say she's a bad actress or anything, but it looks weird. So it's like you have a new Superman, old Wonder Woman, and whatever Batman they're going to bring in. Like it just scrap for the league. They should just start fresh.
yeah,
I agree with that.
I don't even think she was a great Wonder Woman, if we're being honest.
I just feel like they're gonna have to address the redo somehow already, and the more people that they carry over, it just gets more complicated. So like the next time that Wonder Woman interacts with Superman, has she met him before? Like, because if she doesn't, then are we supposed to scrap her whole backstory? It just raises so many questions, and it just like takes me out of the experience. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, so is all the stuff that happened with her in those other movies irrelevant now? Or
That's what Flashpoint is supposed to do, right? It's supposed to just reset the entire universe, and then it doesn't matter who you cast.
The more carryover people, the more questions it raises. Like, give me a fresh cast, and then it's very easy to understand. Clean slate, easy to understand.
They should scrap everything. Keep Waller. Keep Peacemaker on the Suicide Squad. James Gunn's Suicide Squad specifically.
Only because those movies were good is the only reason. I agree with you. Like
you can't scrap Harley Quinn. You can't scrap Margot Robbie.
That's because it makes them money, so they need to figure out how to work that into this whole funky equation. Because like they can't scrap that. They should put them into one of the Elseworlds universes. Like make that some shit like the Joker, where that shit happens independent of this stuff with like your new Superman and your new Batman and your new Wonder Woman. And maybe have some crazy crossover event or something like that. I don't know. Just as an audience, as a casual audience member, I'm like exhausted by just the thought of having to figure out like, is Harley Quinn here? Maybe they just don't care. Maybe they know that the average audience member won't care, so they can just have Harley Quinn show up as a cameo and everybody be like, oh shit, that's Harley Quinn that I know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think they just need to streamline everything into one consistent unit, because it's like I'm cool. I like the Elseworlds concept because it's pretty cool, because I think that can build to like maybe a Crisis on Infinite Earths. And then I have this headcanon where like they bring back Henry Cavill as like Kingdom Come Superman, which would just be awesome. But how is it going to play out when you have Batman Brave and the Bold dropping and then the Batman dropping pretty close to each other? And I'm not saying the audience is dumb. You can't figure out, oh, this is one Batman from one universe and one Batman from another. But it just seems a bit messy.
Yeah,
like, I would
your average moviegoer is going to be like, didn't they just release a Batman? Why is this one different? And it's gonna start the conversation off negatively and confusing. Whereas you just want like people to go see the new Batman. Like when Christopher Nolan had his Batman run, you were like, oh shit, this is the new Batman movie coming out. Or you know,
if anything, they should just like maybe push Batman back and let the Batman trilogy complete itself.
Right.
And then once that's done, they bring in like Batman Brave and the Bold and take off with their solo films.
Maybe this is why they fired the PR team, because they couldn't come up with a good idea to.
Warner Brothers is just fucking up on all fronts. just fucking up on all fronts. All right, moving on.
All right, so we got a lot of Fantastic Four stuff. So some castings. I think confirmed castings are Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. They've cast a thing, but haven't released who yet. Apparently Galactus is Latino, and Ebon Moss-Barack is also cast, but he's not cast as a thing. So he might be Silver Surfer. I hope he's not, because I don't know if he'd make a great Silver Surfer.
It's just the voice of Galactus, right? Like they're not gonna. Are they gonna like CGI this up?
Yeah, I want Antonio Banderas.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope it's Giancarlo Esposito.
I want my Galactus to sound like Puss in Boots.
Yeah. Prepare to die.
Going to devour your world.
Also with Fantastic Four, apparently it's set in the 1960s, and then they're like pulled out of time. Similar to the Captain America film, but he was frozen, so they won't be frozen.
You're probably just gonna get trapped in the negative zone where time moves differently, and then they're gonna pop back into modern day.
We'll
Easy
see.
peasy.
I don't want it to do that because I want an analysis.
No, I mean they have the they already set it up in WandaVision, where I forgot the guy's name, where he mentions that a bunch of I forgot what's it called, the agency that they work for.
Shield, sword.
No, not Sword, where he said a bunch of Sword astronauts disappeared.
They
there
did.
You go. Just make.
I remember that. I
make
remember
the-
that thinking that was a nod to Fantastic Four.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like just have them be Sword astronauts, agents, operatives, or whatever. Have them disappear, and then bring them back. Fantastic Four is home.
Easy peasy. Yeah, there's enough mechanisms in the MCU right now for them to disappear and come back. They don't have to get frozen in a block of ice. The multiverse is a thing. Like they could do literally whatever they want at this point. It wouldn't be surprising.
You know,
They had
should make
ants
the whole
kill
first-
Kang the Conqueror. Like let's level set the expectations.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Kang,
Oh,
Jonathan
the segues
Majors
keep coming.
Segues.
Oh, goodness.
You just reminded me. Jonathan Majors reported to court on the 4th, but on that day, the prosecution requested a stay so they could push everything back. Apparently, they're not prepared for the trial. Also, apparently,
He showed up there and found
he showed
out.
up, but what's her name? His ex fled. Not fled. She is in London right now. I don't know if she
Not in the country.
fled.
Yeah.
It's just not.
It's a weird
here.
time to travel abroad.
Yeah. So
It's a weird
They need
time to
more
go
time.
into a different day and time. Like
that Disney money different, man. They said, "Hey, go back home. we gotta release."
I feel like you should be on standby if your
Shows.
allegations are
Yeah.
accurate. I mean, I get it. Like, is she
But
from
she
there?
didn't make
Is
the
that what you're?
allegations. Yeah, she's from UK, but she didn't make the allegations.
All right, so maybe
So
cut her a
she-
little bit of a break.
Yeah, she don't have to stay. She just left. But apparently, there were reports that they're looking to arrest her for assault. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. So Disney money is real.
Disney money is also
Yeah.
international. Like, let's not pretend that there is not a Disney World somewhere in London. I don't know where it is, but I'm positive there is one.
She's there right now.
This is another thing that. It's another
Mickey
thing
Mouse has got her
I don't
locked
think I don't think the general public's going to care about it by the time the trial actually comes to pass, unless they make a big spectacle of it, like the whole Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing, like it's televised or something. But otherwise, people are just going to be like, okay, it happened. One half of Twitter is going to bitch about it. The other half is going to be in defense of Jonathan Majors, and then it's just going to subside if there's no definitive verdict.
They need a good Jonathan Majors performance, and then discourse is gonna
That's a given.
tick 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 tick.
That's a given.
Well,
He's
like he was
Brian,
good in
okay.
Ant-Man, but I will just say that movie didn't really lend him credence into the role. You know what I mean? Like
He got beat
he-
by ants. That's not fair.
yeah, well, that's my point. That cannot happen in Loki. Is my point. Like he can't have another like lukewarm take. Otherwise, unfortunately, the audience is fickle as fuck. They're gonna be like, this guy beats women and he's terrible in the MCU. That's gonna be the headline. I hope it's not like that. I if he's truly innocent, I would love to see more of him. But I honestly think that if he shows up in Loki and it's just like, because remember his first appearance in the first season of Loki was mixed. A lot of people weren't a fan of his
I thought it was weird.
yeah,
Oh,
I
was
did.
a
I
fan.
did.
I knew what he was doing.
I loved
Right.
it because I knew there would be different versions of him coming out.
Yeah, I was
Exactly.
oh, this is great.
Exactly. But it was a
Well, it's like
weird it was a weird choice for Disney to choose that version of Kang to premiere with. Like I get they were going for a different vibe than Thanos and they wanted to set the stage and be like, this is not another Thanos. This is a very different kind of villain. I think it was, in hindsight, I think it was a little strange and it was a huge gamble for them to make such a
That version
Wacky.
wasn't the villain.
what he
I
was.
think-
He wasn't, but he was.
I think it was a good idea because it's like you look at it from two perspectives. One, if they would have had another stoic, philosophical badass like Thanos, it would have just been retreading the same ground.
Sure.
Plus, from a character standpoint, he who remains has been isolated throughout all of time. At the end
Right.
of time, so of course
Yeah.
he's going to be a little off kilter.
Right.
So I like that creative choice, but I can see where you're coming from. Where it's like, okay, maybe they should have done something a bit safer.
Yeah.
But it's hard to really tell.
I think it would have worked way better if Ant-Man had landed. I think if Kang and Ant-Man had been, he didn't have to be stoic in that. It could have been something different. Kang and Ant-Man was still different than Thanos. Like, I think that, again, he and Paul Rudd carried the movie. They just couldn't carry the huge sack of shit that was like on their shoulders.
That's not on. To me, it's not on them.
It's not on him, and he was a good character in that movie, but it wasn't good enough or different enough where I feel like public sentiment is going to be like, yo, this is the next Thanos. It's like, what's really happening here? Like,
I mean, it's because, okay, like I agree that the performance was fantastic. It's because Kang didn't have any stakes to him.
Also
like
that.
When we first saw Thanos, he choked out Loki, beat the shit out of the Hulk, killed half the Asgardians, and then threw Bruce Banner all the way to Earth.
Off stage, off shoot, off camera,
like
he killed.
KO.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, he did all of this, and you knew the moment from that scene on that Thanos was nothing to be fucked with. Mm-hmm. But in Quantumania, nobody died, nobody lost anything.
I know.
Scott just has a little bit of anxiety now. Kang the Conqueror just gave the weakest member of the Avengers just a little bit of heebie-jeebies. That's it.
And that's the creative choice from the director. They took out the scenes where like it was bloody and he was and Scott was unrecognizable, and they should have left that in so you can see the true.
I want Jonathan Majors to be the villain that I know that he can be. I think that they've made some odd creative choices up to this point that are making it more, they're digging themselves a deeper and deeper hole, and I think it's going to take that much more of a performance or an appearance from him to basically vault out of that hole that they've dug for him at this point. And then of course all of these allegations are basically just like, pouring cement into the hole. So it's like, it's doubly hard.
Yeah. With Kang, you got to do two things. You got to define his powers, because right now it just looks like he has weird telekinesis. And then you got to give him stakes. You got to have the heroes lose something whenever he steps on the screen.
I can't believe they didn't end Ant-Man on that note. That was just wild to me.
We lost the Conqueror persona anyway, so we got to see what happens with the other Kangs, Ramen Tuts, the Iron Lad or whatever, Iron Patriot Kang, if he's there, that's the hero one. There's a bunch, so.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like the Kangs we've seen are the ones that I actually care about. So it's like, okay, He Who Remains, I liked his performance, but he's gone. And now Kang the Conqueror, that's the one I wanted to see going forward. Right. Because they made him out to be such a big threat that all the Kangs in the multiverse had to come together in a Coliseum or like, I don't know, it was like a Big Ten football game or whatever, wherever they were at. They all had to assemble to stop this man, but yet he got stampeded by a bunch of ants. Like, it was a bad call.
Just hope Immortus is great. We'll see what happens.
All right, moving on. What else do we have to cover? I got 10 minutes.
Some live action stuff. There's a live action Monopoly in the works just because I don't know why.
What a sentence.
There's a live action Tangled in the works because they're just going to do that. And then there is no live back Hunchback of Notre Dame because Bob Iger is not a fan.
They're also doing Princess and the Frog.
Oh, live action Princess and the Frog. I don't want to see a black woman kissing a frog, so I'm not even this boycott out the gate.
That frog is going to look terrifying after the CGI in Little Mermaid.
Yeah, get that out of here. The Meg 2 has a 0 score.
Yo,
Meg 2 is terrible, and I'm glad.
Sifu, you should be here for this to defend this movie. This is your magnum opus.
Food better go watch the Meg 2 because they need somebody
to hear a full recap.
It's just garbage. Just running through these. There's a My Hero 4, My Hero Academia 4 movie coming out. The second one wasn't good. The third one, I don't remember. It's just too many.
I think the second one was good. I haven't seen the third one.
One of them is like excessive, and they touch blood, and then Bakugo just starts using the One for All powers.
Oh wait, I did see that. I like that one. I'm not.
That's a beautiful scene, though.
It looks cool, but it's like this is excessive.
It's like all like
was amazing.
Oh my god, I'm tearing up thinking about it. It was great.
Well,
of course, it was extra.
So y'all can enjoy that.
They touch blood. I
I'm
forgot
gonna
about
run through
that.
this.
They literally
All
won
right.
with the power of friendship.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's why I was like, get rid of it.
Yep.
I don't care about this, and neither should anyone else. Venom 3, Chiwetel Ejiofor's role is some random villain no one cares about.
So he is not Null or whatever.
No, he's not Noel or anyone we care about. His
Okay.
name is
It's just-
Orwell Taylor. Apparently, this is according to a scooper named Daniel Richmond.
It sounds like
Okay.
Venom's fighting a college professor.
Yeah, it's
I
gonna be
don't
something.
care.
It's gonna be something stupid like somebody's trying to replicate the serum or some shit.
They
Get it
did
outta
that
here.
already with. They should have just went with Null.
Throw it away. They should have went with Noel, but they're stupid.
They're just
There's
holding
a
on
new
until
Hunger
Spider-Man
Games.
shows up.
So there's a new Hunger Games coming out November 17th in theaters. I don't know why. I thought there were only 3 books, right?
There-
Or however many books. I'm just
I
tired.
think there were only that many books. It was 3 or 4.
Hunger Games.
Unless
is-
they wrote more after I stopped. I read the books. Books were good.
Hunger Games is a ripoff of Battle Royale, so I don't respect it in the first place. Get it out of here.
Kinda.
No, completely. It is literally the same thing.
The premise of like people battling for survival, sure, but like the whole backstory, very
The
different.
same.
No, like the reason that they're fighting to the death is very different.
It's the same reason. To
They're
save
hungry.
your
They're
district.
still hungry. They're still hungry.
You know what Battle Royale is?
I
It's
did.
just to
I
save
saw.
your
I
nation.
know. I saw it. I saw it.
the
I thought it
same
had to do
thing.
with like high school kids.
No, they just make high school kids fight instead of wars.
It's been a while. It has been a while since I saw Battle Royale.
Yeah, instead of countries going to war, they make high school kids fight, and the winning bet wins control of the world, something like that.
Huh. I need to go back and
It's
watch
trash.
that movie.
Not Battle Royale's not trash. Sorry, Hunger Games trash. I don't like it. Some Black Mirror news. The creator, he has a fear of AI within screenwriting, which is understandable. I think everyone has that fear, and ironically, his show directly addresses that. He probably made an episode about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, he thinks like the studio could just vomit drafts and then hire people to like rewrite them, which is
Of course.
I think that's something you've talked about.
Kinda. We talked about
yeah.
that at the top. Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's inevitable at this point. Like, I want the writers to win, but it just AI feels like such a force in nature that
yeah.
the studios are going to they're going to find some bullshit loophole and they're going to start pumping out the most generic but easy to produce content.
That get just enough views. If it leans green, they're gonna keep doing it. The
Yeah.
second that it stops making profit, that's when they'll reevaluate. But yeah, if they can pump out some bullshit scripts and pay one editor to like clean it up to make it coherent, that's 100% what they'll do.
Did you guys see that? I don't know if there's some sort of program that can like use AI to pump out South Park episodes. Like,
No.
They have like the AI controls like each member in the town and maneuvers them around and gives them certain like algorithms and protocols and all these things to like make them react like they would in the show or as close as they can to in the show. And then through those interactions, it spits out 30-minute episodes. And it's not as good as what like Trey Stone and Matt Parker could produce, obviously.
Wasn't there a South Park episode that was written by AI that like is a South Park episode that they did?
Yeah, but that was
It
deliberate.
was
That
like-
was for like comedic
yeah.
It was
purposes.
a deliberate
Yeah,
thing.
it was a half Chat GPT episode, and then they
Yeah.
wrote the other half.
But this one, it's like a program that can literally just make episodes like that, 30-minute episodes, as in infinity. And it's like I said, it's not as good, but the fact that we can even do that, and AI just dropped like a year ago, is insane.
Yeah.
If I was
Yeah.
a creative, I'd be terrified in terms of like what you can monetize going forward.
Yeah. Yep.
That's probably why they're striking.
Yeah.
Part of the reason for sure. Trying to secure some role. They got to secure it. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on.
A couple. I think just randomly mentioned it before. Barbie's hit $1 billion. So even though the Meg 2 lost a bunch of money, Barbie didn't. So
Hollywood's doing okay because Barbie's pulling it in.
Particularly Warner Brothers, like they just made $100 million in the second quarter. Barbie just made $1 billion. The Meg flop, but it doesn't matter. They made $1 billion, so they're doing all right over there.
For now.
Uh,
Blue Beetle's about to only make like what, 30 million at the box office.
I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it open night. I support the Latina community, so I'll be watching.
I support the Beetle. I support the Beetle community.
Apparently, in the comics, by the way, Batman has 2 biological children. So there's some random daughter that's from him and Catwoman, or I think it's him and Catwoman. But like from an alternate timeline, like this is just lazy.
Oh, Helena?
Yeah, it's Helena. I understand like Damien coming out of nowhere, like Talia raping Bruce and then having a child and not telling him his own brand. That's perfect. But like a random future timeline, and you have a Huntress daughter from that timeline. All right, man. This is
quite frankly, I'm surprised Batman doesn't have more kids.
Yeah,
Bruce be fucking.
Yeah,
he's a billionaire.
Silver St. Cloud, Vicky
How
Vale,
many Bezos bastards do you think there's going to be in like 30 years? Like people vying for that's going to be like the new Game of Thrones, is people like being like, I have the rightful claim to the Amazon throne. Bro, that's the show they should have made. They should have spent $1 billion on that show instead of Lord of the Rings. Like, I would.
A bunch of balding kids with weird eyes.
Oh wait!
They
speaking
all
of
like
balding
hate
kids,
Elon Musk. Oh
no! You let me segue it. Apparently, Cassandra Nova is the villain for Deadpool 3. And for those that don't know, Cassandra Nova is Charles Xavier's like twin that he tried to kill in the womb. But she survives somehow.
Bad luck, Charles. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's in Deadpool 3. Honestly, this is probably a great villain. It's just the idea of Cassandra Nova is very funny to me. There's always like a random Xavier person popping up, and they're all bald. So
I feel like Xavier is What's her name? Cassandra Nova.
Cassandra Nova.
Cassandra Nova. Yeah, she's like an ultra powerful telepath, just like Charles.
Oh my God, she looks hideous. Jesus Christ.
She survives and she's bald. She survives in the room. Survives in the womb, comes back, and then like enacts her revenge. So maybe Deadpool has joined the X-Men or X-Force. I would love if it was the X-Force. And and then last for news, this is a terrible segue. There's no segue here, but the Sound of Freedom.
This is the last story?
Yeah, that's how I'm ending.
How are we ending on this note?
Fabian Marta was arrested for child kidnapping. Which is ironic because Sound of Freedom is about
this man is method producing.
Exactly.
The Sound of Freedom is the sound of freeing the kids in the child trafficking black market. And then one of the main producers of this movie gets charged with kidnapping children. Like, I was just saying this before we started. Like, how do you not stay so far away from a project like this if you have anything to do with like Epstein's Island or anything like that? Like, get the fuck out of here.
He really dove into that.
What do you mean?
He really dove into that.
Oh yeah, it's like the villain always returning to the scene of the crime kind of thing. Like
maybe that's why he made the movie, so he could like study.
That's what it seems
and
like.
Learn what not to do.
I want to see if he's like, if you go back and check, like, was he sweating in the back of interviews?
Yeah. Does his backpack is like moving and he's like,
oh no.
All right, I just thought of a main thing for us to talk about, but now we're out of time. We saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that shit was fire.
Yeah, I forgot.
I don't have time to like get into it right now, but we should definitely talk about that. Just Ramblin', are you thinking about going to see that?
Yeah, I'm gonna go take my son to it.
Cool. Are you gonna do it before?
We did not take any children.
We did not take children.
I just walked in.
We saw the matinee, and that was okay. Yeah, that movie was great.
Fantastic.
No spoilers, but like they Seth Rogen is just fucking, he knows what he's doing. The guy has, I could see the only critique I heard that I'm sort of willing to meet halfway is April O'Neil. They just rewrote the character. It's not the same character. So like whether you're not a fan of her being woke or not, they were never going to leave that character the same. The character was just, it was a nothing character. So like they had to bring her into this century in some way. But I only, like, I get it. So like I don't even think of that as a critique. I think the movie was awesome. It was phenomenal.
I mean, if you make a movie that features a bunch of young people in Brooklyn, what do you expect from their whole just mentality, their aesthetic? Like it's the woke thing to do.
Yeah. Well, they had to. They're trying to like pull in some like Zoomers to go see this movie too, and they have to like make the, you know, characters actually be like real characters and not just, you know, basically Mary Jane Watson but friends with turtles who do ninja. You know.
Yeah.
So go see it,
check
and then we could talk about it next week, and I think that will
Right.
be fun. And Fu can tell us about how it's done in the box office.
Oh, watch the Meg. We need your take.
Fu, yeah, I want to hear like what is better, Meg 2 or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Showdown. We should do the debate again. We should bring back the Cammy debate.
All right, good.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. I do gotta run. I got a date with a special lady upstairs, but it was good chatting with y'all, even though this was the most impromptu call we've had in quite some time. But it's always fun. And if y'all are around next week, we will be in the same place, same time. Catch us on Twitch. If you're listening on Spotify right now, we are twitch.tv/cameos. That's with 2 E's. We do this every Tuesday night, right at 7:30. We've been pretty good with the timing. And yeah, if you're here with us right now and you want to catch up on the conversations that we've had in the past, all of our shit goes on Spotify. So Cameos on Spotify. We got the videos uploaded now too, because Spotify is letting us get them MP4s uploaded, which is nice. So catch your Cammy News with us. Same time, same place.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
watch Bleach.
Word.
And watch Bleach. And Looney Tunes One Piece.
Don't do that.
That's all, folks.
That's
End
all,
it.
folks. All right, y'all. It's been good. Catch you next time.
Later.
Peace.